Hello, thank you for being here today. Joe, thank you. Bob, I can't tell where you are. I know you're out there somewhere, but thanks for having us. We're proud to be here. We're glad to meet different folks and understand your needs better and be able to share some of the things that are impacting our industry technology-wise. TJ's hit on a number of them. What I'm here specifically to talk about, just briefly, is electronic water management for jails and prisons. You may say, what kind of water are you managing? Well, this is specific to the fixtures that your residents might be utilizing. We're not doing laundry, we're not doing kitchens, things like that. It's specifically for things in the cells. Quick note, who are we? I'm not going to read through all these bullets, but one thing that we're proud of is that we, over the years, have grown, and we've had a pretty strong record, especially with folks coming out of the Indiana DOC into work release, hiring a number of those folks and bringing them into our organization in different roles. And it's been a wonderful source for us of people, and it's been a good thing, I think, for many of those people, and it's worked out well over the years. Water management is not a new concept here. I mentioned on the last bullet there that the first system we introduced was in 1996. So here we are 23 years later, and we're still talking about it, but it's got a number of things that are, can be very valuable when you're considering either a new facility or renovating an existing facility. Moving ahead a little bit, this is our plant. That's about 15 minutes west of here. So I'll put in the invitation now that if any of you are ever interested in touring our facility, and in the past 2 weeks I think we've had 4 different groups, 3 of which are here today, come through our plant, see what we're doing and see how we do it. And to Joe's point, you know, when you pick a provider for the different materials, and I don't care if it's furniture from Norix or if it's controls or if it's doors or the different things, I encourage you to have confidence in who is manufacturing that product and know and see where they're manufacturing and how they're manufacturing. It's worth the time, really is. So we've been in this building since 2012, and it's our home, and we're very proud of it. Okay, I think it was Mike that showed you a drone video. Okay, well the thing Mike didn't tell you is he didn't fly the drone. He had a 14-year-old nephew that flew the drone. Now this is a 62-year-old grandpa, as Joe calls me, flying the drone. I almost hit the flagpole, okay? But here's a little outside of the building here, and I warned everybody inside the building that we were going to be flying the drone inside the building. Well, if any of you know what those big-ass fans are that whirl around, you know, and keep air moving in a large building, I was trying to duck through those and move through those, and I finally thought, you know what, this might not go so well. So we switched over to a cart with a tripod in the back, and this is my drone, okay? Sped up a little bit, but my point here is this. We have an investment in equipment and tooling, and I want to pause the video here in just a moment. Not yet, sorry. Keep going. Right about here. One more, a little more. Okay, that's good. There you go. That's probably $3 million worth of presses and tooling, just to give you an idea. And why do we need them? That big blue thing makes toilet bowls and makes lavatory bowls. It makes different types of drawn components out of stainless steel. We use only domestic stainless steel, and that is a differentiator between us and some of the others that are in our game. We also try to keep our things up to date. These 2 presses back here to the right, these are new, came in last year and added to our capacity. We got rid of the old, brought in the new, and it's been a good thing for us. Okay, we can keep rolling here. But it gives you an idea as we move ahead here and see things. We make all of our own tooling, and we maintain all of our own tubing. Right there, we just went by tube bending, so we bend all of our own tubes. These are waste tubes, flush inlet tubes, different types of stainless tubing. We have the machinery to cut them, to form them. This is machining. We probably have about $5 million worth of machining equipment. To the right, under the yellow cranes, is injection molding. We injection mold all of our own parts for our valves, which is critically important. Now we move over to the fabrication side. These are lasers, punch presses, laser cutting machines, forming machines. What am I leaving out? Different types of, now we're moving into welding. manual welding, robotic welding. Just depends what the product is and what the different requirements are for that product. Any of the blue equipment you see now is where we do grinding and polishing. We have roughly 120 people that work for us and have been a solid employer over the years. Over here, we also make products that maybe you don't see every day but are important to what we do, which is solid surface products. And in a lot of behavioral health care facilities and behavioral mental health facilities, that's being used. We recently completed a new 13,000 square foot electronics manufacturing facility down in the west end of the plant. This is brand new, and this gives us the capacity to take on these jobs that are coming up and are underway and are getting, it's a popular time right now for this type of product. And so I want to share that we have the capacity and the ability to do these things. The other thing I want to share with you is we're not out of the country. We're right here in Indianapolis. We're not in Mexico. We're not importing components from China. We're doing things that, on our own, by ourselves, that give us the independence that we like to have. What do we make? I'm not going to go through all the bullets. You can read them for yourselves, but basically what we're here to talk about today is electronic water management. So, and it controls a number of the fixtures that you see listed on the left side there. But basically, that's what we manufacture, that type of product. What is an electronic water management system? Very simply put, it's low voltage technology for jails and prisons that controls the use of inmate plumbing fixtures. Why would you want to do that? Two reasons, primary reasons. You want basically to be able to limit or control the usage. You want to control your water and sewer costs, especially if you're commissioners in the audience and you really care about that. So it's control and control of the fixtures and control of the function of them, and also control of cost. And the product consists of hardware controllers, software, valves, push buttons. You can see all that outside. We have a truck outside that you'll be able to view. Why might you need this? Maybe you don't. I'm not telling you have to have it, but I will tell you that if any of these items interest you, do you want to reduce your expenses? As I mentioned earlier, do you want to eliminate flooding of a cell? Probably do. Or do you want to control the use of the different fixtures? I've got a brief video here coming up that I want you to look at. This is from a local sheriff about 45 minutes northeast of here. This was done by the local Fox affiliate last year.
County jail officials are looking for answers to a big flooding problem. A recent flood caused a lot of damage throughout the building. But as Fox 59's Nick McGill shows us, jail officials are having a hard time putting a plug in the problem.
I can tell you that over the last 8 days, we've had 4 significant floods.
And that's causing multiple problems for the Madison County Jail. We paid a visit to the jail after the mother of an inmate complained her son was living in a flooded cell block.
We have a lot of leaks that are caused by all that flooding. And when you have leaks, you have plaster that will crack and cave in. You have health issues. You have serious health issues.
Sheriff Scott Mellinger says the heart of the problem lies with inmates causing the floods by clogging their own toilets, using uniforms or ropes made from scraps to create a plug. He even says some inmates use the plumbing system as a delivery method for contraband like letters or drugs.
We recently discovered a female inmate who had over 20 letters that had been sent through the plumbing system in just that way.
But a lot of times that contraband gets stuck. This is a picture from August of a giant clog taken from a sewer main outside the jail, likely the result of decades of buildup. In his office, Mellinger showed us what's commonly fished out of the pipes, causing floods and damage to an aging system. Some of the water from the floods is still dripping and causing damage to ceilings in other areas of the jail. Now inmates are using bleach water and soap to help sanitize the area.
We're 100% sure that we can reduce the problem substantially.
Now the county is looking to install these electronic flushers, which would control the amount of times an inmate could flush the toilet and significantly reduce flooding. However, due to money being tight, the flushers can only be installed in a fraction of jail toilets.
If we could solve the problem overnight, we would do it. But when you have a jail that's 30 plus years old, it's difficult to do.
The sheriff says work on installing those new electronic flushers could begin within the next 30 days, but due to the current plumbing system, it could be a while before work is finished. In Anderson, Nick McGill, Fox 59 News.
Hopefully that's not you, and hopefully that's never happened, but we hear it time and time again that it does happen, and it happens with some frequency, and so that's one of the reasons that systems like this can be valuable. Observations about electronic water management systems. It's frequently used in both new construction and renovation work, and it doesn't have to encompass your entire facility. You might say, I don't have the budget to do the entire place, but you may have a SEG area, or you may have a special housing unit or something along those lines that you want to have control over, and if you do, that's a great way to approach it. That's fine. We run into other jobs where they say, I want to do everything. I want to have control over each of the fixtures in all of the areas. It just depends. And many times, excuse me, many times it's used or it's considered in response to a cost-saving need or a facility damaging event like we just saw. Water management system types. There's basically two types. There's what was just shown, and I'll get into that in just a moment, but they're called fixture-specific controllers that are typically lower cost. They are not networked. They are individual controllers located in the chase. And then there is a network system back to an operator workstation. So those are the two general categories, and we have samples of both outside that you'll be able to see in just a little bit. This is a fixture-specific controller, similar to what was shown by Sheriff Mellinger. We call it a combi controller. Basically what it does is it hooks up in your chase. You have the push buttons from the flush valve coming in, and we can convert a hydraulic flush valve to a hydraulic electronic flush valve. So that means to you, a lot of times we can convert the valves you presently have if you're renovating. But in any case, we can hook those up and have the control. And basically you're going to set two things here. Over here, if you can see my little pointer, you're going to limit or set the, in this case specifically, I'm sorry, I'll point over here. Pre-delay, how many flushes do you want to allow on a toilet, let's just say, before delay kicks in? And then once it's set right now, I think on 4. So, and that's per hour. So that's saying right now that you can have the equivalent of 4 flushes in an hour. And once you hit and somebody tries to go for 5, the system locks out. And then you can set the amount of time that you'd like it to lock out for. And you may say, well, that's really basic, and it is, but a lot of facilities don't want a lot of networked controls, computers, and everything else, and they want their maintenance staff to simply adjust it in the chase and leave it. That's great. Here's a solution for you that can work. It also gives you the ability to control the lavatory settings, although when a lavatory only flows a half gallon a minute, a lot of times people aren't that concerned about the lavs themselves. If your toilet is properly equipped, it can also, with this device here, be connected to the overflow prevention so you cannot flood the toilet, i.e. flood the cell. So that's a feature that we highly recommend. 15 years ago, maybe 20%, 25% of the projects we did had that feature. Now I would say it's probably closer to 85. So there's been enough industry knowledge about the damaging events that people want to do something about it. Pretty simple to install, easy to adjust timing. Your maintenance staff, in many cases, if you are tight on money, could probably install this type of product with a limited amount of training. That's just a larger view of it. If you want to see the real thing, again, it's outside. There are also units made for other types of fixtures, shower controllers with similar controls here, so you can limit the amount of run time on the showers and have a lockout after so much, or a delay, actually, not a lockout, but a delay after so many uses. So that might be useful in certain settings. We see a demand for that. And then toilet controller. This device will control the equivalent of 4 toilets. So you can hook up 4 individual units to this and set the timing just like you set it on the combi controller. As we move on to the networked features, the network cell valve controller, these are some of the major features here that you would see with that. Different security levels so that you don't get a new operator changing a bunch of your settings and messing up your system. So there's multiple security levels. There's a remote fixture enabling and disabling. Let's say you want to have a shakedown in cell 213. You've got a problem. Great. What you do is you select it, touch on it, and we can show you this out on the truck also. You touch on that cell on your touch screen, it highlights, and you hit a little key. That little key comes up over the cell, and all of a sudden nothing works, meaning the hot doesn't work, the cold doesn't work, and the flush doesn't work. You can go in, no one can get rid of contraband, and you can move on. There's a difference here also. Sometimes people say, well, I can accomplish that if I put a gate solenoid valve at the beginning of a wing of your facility. Yes and no. You can do that, and you can have one big solenoid valve controlling all your water to that wing, and you can shut it off, and maybe that is something that is desirable, but our point when that's considered is that you can still flush your toilets until the pressure runs down. So there's still water in the lines. There's still a way for contraband to be introduced or disposed of, I guess, not introduced. You can do logging. Somebody comes back and says, hey, they cut my water off on July 15th, and they didn't let me have any water in my cell. You can go back in your logging and trending, and you can say, oh, wait a minute here. On July 15th, here's what happened. Oh, you happened to use your toilet 4 times, and you happened to use your lavatory this much. And if you had a shower in the cell, you used it here, and you have proof. It's protection. So it's a feature we don't push a lot, but it's something that is useful. Scheduled use. You saw in Mike's cell outside that there's an integral shower in the cell. A lot of times facilities don't want to allow the inmates to run that shower at their whim. So you can use scheduled use, and you can say, I want my shower to work from 7:30 in the morning to 8 in the morning. And the other 23 and a half hours a day, they can push that button all day long, but no water is going to come out. The other thing that can help do too, based on the way you set it, is reduce flooding opportunities from a shower. Fixture overuse, I touched a little bit on that. You can have all kinds of settings along those lines. Flush guard is basically something where we've seen in certain facilities, larger facilities most notably, inmates want to create problems. They may say, okay, everybody at noon, flush your toilet. And you may think, this is a crazy idea. It's not a crazy idea, it happens. If you put that kind of stress on your plumbing system, it can damage the plumbing system, and it can create a lot of headaches for your maintenance staff. Flush guard, very simply, prioritizes those requests that come in. So 213 flushed at 12:01 and 10 seconds. Cell 413 flushed 5 seconds later, somebody else 5 seconds later, or whatever. It basically prioritizes and then spaces out those requests so you can't damage the plumbing system. Couple other notes you can read for yourself there, but basically the last point, graphical facility layout. We take your design professional's drawings, and we basically populate those drawings, the floor plans, with the fixtures so that you can see a combi in cell 413, and you can say, okay, that's the one, and you can touch on it, and then you can turn it on, or you can turn it off, or you can set the timing, or you can do whatever you want. And it's in a graphical nature that people can understand. Cell valve controller is the heart of the system. This controls the equivalent of 2 combination units or 6 shower valves, depending upon how you want to use that. And these are networked from one cell valve controller to the next, to the next, to the next. Question was asked, I think, of TJ, is if you lose one, what happens? You lose one, you don't lose the whole network, okay? You might lose one in whatever it controls, but the network is still functional, and the other cell valve controllers are still functional. Of course, your fixture in the cell, this is what the inmate sees every day, and doesn't really care that much. On the back side, though, here's what to expect if you're introducing a system like this. Over here, you have the cell valve controller. Here's a 120 to 24 volt AC transformer. Here's your electronic lavatory valves. Here's your electronic hydraulic flush valve. And here's your stainless steel piezo switches that go in the backsplash of the fixture that the inmate pushes. That's the guts of the system, and then this line running in here is connecting the cell valve controller to the next one, to the next one, and on down. So that's what it looks like in a drawing form. Here's an actual installation. Happens to be, again, one of Steel Cell's cells. And you can see the cell valve controller over here, the lav valves up here. Here's the electronic hydraulic actuator for the flush valve. Here's the backsplash of the plumbing fixture. So that's a system installed, and you can see this one has controls, inputs and output controls coming over to this fixture, and it's also going that way to pick up the one next door. Here's a graphical representation of an imaginary facility, but basically you can see that the floor plan has been populated. We've gotten rid of everything else that doesn't matter as far as drawing content, and you can see combination units in each of the units and properly labeled. And then you can have a control here. These are showers, these are combis. Just, we populate it the way you're going to use it and in your actual facility. Some of this may be overwhelming. I listen to what TJ's presenting and I'm like, holy smokes, you know, video analytics and this, that, and the other, and it sometimes can just be a bit much. What we try to do is boil it down. Ways to get started. Let's define the need. If you have a need, let's define it. What is it you want to accomplish? Is it control? Is it savings? Is it both? Is it, you know, overflow protection? You know, where do you want to go? And then one thing we can do here is review your sewer and water bills. I had that discussion this morning with some folks, and basically let us take a look at your sewer bill and your water bill. We'll figure out what your cost per thousand for water is and your cost per thousand for sewer is. And we can come back and give you an estimate of the operational savings that a system like this has to offer. So this is great technology, but our point is here that it helps pay back itself over time. And the payback is faster than what you might imagine. Just depends if you're in an area that has high water and high sewer costs or not. Other ideas, consult your jail administrator and maintenance staff. A lot of valuable experience there on what works, what doesn't work, what they might want to have, not want to have. A lot of your design professionals that are in the room today, and maybe they're here, maybe they're not here, but consult them, ask them what their thoughts are. A lot of them are very familiar with this type of system and what the features are and what the upside is and maybe what the downside is. And then consider installing a test system. We do that on basis of somebody that has a serious interest in it. We're able to help in that regard. I mentioned earlier about your costs. We have a very simple water savings calculator. It's 2 pages. This is the first page. Any of the blue that you see here, you can enter your data. And to boil this all down very simply, this top block here is your existing settings. So, for instance, we're looking at average inmate use. How many flushes a day do you think your inmate takes or uses? You know, my guess is you're going to guess low. I think the average is between 30 and 40 per inmate per day. But if you don't like my numbers, use your numbers. That's fine. But basically what this allows you to do is enter the information in of how many flushes and how much shower time, and what is the rate of use on the shower, what is the rate of use per flush in gallons. And really what you're doing here is summarizing with the way you are now with no control, what are you using in terms of gallons. Then you come down to the second block over here, and what that's doing is saying, okay, now if we had control, what would we put in? How might we limit things so that what's reasonable, what's fair, what's humane, but what also prevents the inmate from abusing the system. And essentially what the calculator does on the second page here is, on the blue on the lower left, here's where you enter number of inmates, okay, your water cost per thousand, and your sewer cost per thousand. That's all you got to input. You're done inputting. And it'll kick out a number to tell you, okay, this is what you can expect reasonably given your criteria if you choose to implement a system like this. This isn't proprietary, to coin TJ's presentation. If you want a copy of this, we're happy to forward it to you. And a number of your design professionals have this already and can help you with it if you need help. We'll come in also for, speaking mainly to design professionals here, and they might say, well, my client might be interested in this, but what would it look like? How would it go together? And what might it cost? We can do estimates to give you an idea and actually populate your floor plans and show you how they might be connected and where you might put your operator workstations, and then give you a estimated cost to do that sort of thing. Happy to do that for you. We can also come to your facility with a little bit of planning. We have a mobile demonstration truck which is outside, and it can demonstrate this product to you or your commissioners. We're actually going to a jail building committee meeting Thursday, for that very purpose. So we're happy to come out, share this with you, discuss it, and we're not trying to tell you that you got to have this, but we are trying to tell you it's something that there is value to, and especially if you're jail staff, you probably make your people rather happy if you had it. That's all I have. Don't know if there's any questions. If there are, I'll be happy to field them, and if not, we'll move on. Good. Thank you very much.